Okay, guys, we are back, and welcome to the archive section. I just didn't. I just had to get started here, Ramon, because you know how we do it. We like to get talking and miss a bunch of good stuff. So I figured I'd make sure we didn't do that. So, Sonia, I want to pop right back into the question we left off on the first hour. And are there changes going on these other levels in a reflective manner of what we've got going on right here?
I'm going to say I would imagine so because everything seems to be a domino effect or sort of an echo effect. And we can see that through everything. I mean, well, as much as we can see anyway, that everything is a rippling effect into physicality. So I would imagine that there are other things going on other levels because we're not being specific as to what level. We just know that there are levels above this one. And also the fact is that this really is a time that I really do see that it is an opportunity, energetically anyway, for consciousness, for people's awareness to begin to shift into a much deeper level of awareness. And regardless of what's going on these other levels, and good, bad, or indifferent, I think that it's still contingent on what kind of shifts we make, what kind of awakening we have, what kind of awareness we are interacting with, that is determining what you're going to be tied into. It's sort of like which line you're going to end up going in, which line are you going to go in, the one over there on the left or the one on the right. All of that determines what you line up with. So everything, there is stuff going on. I couldn't tell you specifically what is going on, but I just know there's a ripple effect. And as I've often said, pretty much everything else is just an echo of what has already happened, like a burned out star. What we see is in the sky. I mean, it's already long gone. We've already happened. I mean, in all reality of it, we are the past to somebody else's some whatever future. So just looking at it that way, we recognize, yeah, there's something going on. It's always going on, but it's still contingent on our own personal awakening. That's going to line us up with whatever direction that we need to go in. Right. But there's, and a lot of times, yes, we do focus on the derogatory things that could be going on. And, outside of this time, I think it's because we have been such a dumbed down group on the planet. And this experience has been one of ultimate limitation. And I've often said that is just something that we needed to do. Regardless of what anybody says, when they say, well, it should never have happened, it was a mistake, and now we need to. I mean, I just don't see creation in that sense as making a mistake. I just think that everything that we've been, everything that we're doing now, everything that we will do, is just all in alignment. I mean, it just is. Nothing dies. Nothing is really ever destroyed. It's just a game experience we're having. It's an experience we're having. And there are those on other levels who are outplaying their game. And we just happen to be, the pawns on the game board.
Yeah. So you think
move around?
You think we're changing physically also?
I mean, I think that, I think it's happened obviously over the years. I think we're always changing, and I do see there's lots of material, on ascension and all of those things, and how we're changing. Well, naturally, if the planet is changing, anybody who's going to continue to be on the planet will need to change to be
that common sense thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Duh.
Oh boy.
can we still live here? No, but I mean,
You ain't pay
so
your rent. Get out.
yeah, exactly. You have to be in alignment. You're moving with, the shift that's going on the planet. And obviously, if the planet is going to start operating at, 200 degrees, where it's just hotter than you could even imagine, um, maybe could we shift to a point where the body becomes this other fluid thing, expression where the 200 degrees is like 70 degrees. I mean, I look at things like that. Other people would go, oh, that's just ridiculous. No, I don't see it as ridiculous. I see that everything is constantly changing and we have no memory, little memory of any of this and how we even now have these bodies and these fingers and toes. I'm sure we said back there, well, that's just ridiculous. Fingers and toes,
A
that's just
thumb?
ridiculous.
What do you need a thumb for?
What do you need a thumb for?
Posable my foot.
Yeah, I know.
Hmm.
Nostrils and ears and some of the things in the body, some of the organs in the body, and even the brain. Look at what got added later on. Look at the things we technically don't use anymore. So we see right away that the human body has been changing according to the change in the environment. Well, part of that too is the change in the environment and the change on the planet is also based on a change in consciousness as well, on a much more profound level. And also we're looking at a ending of cycles. This computer system that we're on cosmically runs based on cycles. So you end these cycles and then you've got another cycle that you're entering into. And yeah, I do see it as like entering into a new program, like a new program. Oh, this is the new program. This is where we're in. So the way I see a lot of things tends to be a little bit different than many people. They see 2012, it's the ending and the beginning of another cycle. But then I say, well, okay, what is that cycle? We're evolving, we're expanding. Okay, but we're all supposed to be, according to most people, doing this together, which says to me that there is this construct of or sort of moving like sheep, like you're moving these people through these various cycles. You're moving them through, okay, end of that cycle, and you're moving them through. So you're still on this automated system. There's this automated program that's still running, and a lot of people don't see it that way, but I see automation. We never hear this when we hear of Buddha and Jesus and wherever else. They went on and they did their thing on by themselves. But we don't get anything like that encouraged. Oh no. Everybody, we have to move together as a unit. We all have to be moving together. And I always wonder, how come nobody makes it seem like, well, maybe can you, the individual, go through a heavy duty expansion without everybody else? I definitely see that. I think that's one of the biggest secrets. That's what I think. I mean, There's a whole lot more behind it, but I think that's one of the biggest secrets. And I think it's to keep us more in this Borg-like kind of thinking that everybody, the whole planet has to like shift together in order to keep everybody in this program. I just see that we're going into a whole new program. That's really
so. If I understand correctly, is that like part of the ploy where you have this ascension that everybody's talking about, but it's really just a new matrix or a new programming?
Oh, yeah. I've always said that it's like a renovation, like it's like a new building or something like that, and you just
bigger walls.
Yeah, it's another level. Now we're going to be brighter than we were for the last 104,000 years. We're going to be brighter. We have the opportunity to be brighter, but who's determining that? Who's regulating these cycles? Who's determining that we are now in this phase where we, as a species, are going to be brighter. And if everybody stops and you look, you'll see that it's like a program. And it just churns, and it goes into a lot more than that. Obviously you look at the whole solar system, it's huge. I mean, it's just a lot more that's churning this program out. And that, again, this is how we're able to create computers and understand technology the way we do, is because we've created like a simulation, or we're mimicking the bigger system in which we are operating. So as long as we stay in that kind of group mind thinking, yeah, there's nothing right or wrong. I want to say this. There's nothing good or bad about it, or right or wrong. It's just another level of the game. Okay, you're graduating up to this level now of the game together. All of humanity, whatever that means, moving up together. That's basically how I've viewed it. And so I just see where if you're part of a level of fluidity, there's a whole other experience where you're removing yourself from that kind of construct.
What I find really hard to understand is, with everything that's constantly changing, nothing stays the same.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it that for humans it's so hard to understand change? We always want everything to stay the same when nothing stays the same.
Well, because, again, that's part of the program. You have to remember that the reason why we are here as human beings and we are part of this experience, and the only way that we could continue to have this experience is to become addicted to it. So that not wanting change is based on the fact that we're addicted to being humans. We're addicted to our experiences, and when anything changes in our reality, it actually chemically throws us off. And I've given like instances, I mean, we've all experienced that, where you can have like a chair in a particular spot, or even the cupboards and your cups in a certain way, and somebody comes and they move it. Who moved the couch? Who moved the cups? I mean, you can get really upset. Because we have like this blueprint, this map that we've got of what our personal reality looks like, and once we have it set, we don't like anything to come along and change it. So we go on this routine, and again, recognize the program, everything is automated, and so are we are on this automatic thing, and you just go along with it, and then something comes along and shifts it, and then people sort of short circuit. People get very upset. But the brain, this is a chemical experience. Remember now, emotions, this is all emotional, and emotions are electrochemical impulses. So that's what we're dealing with. We're literally addicted to our lives on many, many levels. We're addicted to we're in a relationship. When I did the workshop on relationships, I showed people how we are all in a relationship with everything we have, everything we own. We are in a relationship with everything we interact with and we keep. We are in a relationship. That's, again, you get upset, you're kind of saddened if you if you had
favorite coffee cup breaks.
Yeah, exactly. Your favorite coffee cup breaks. You had to
don't touch my cup.
Absolutely. All of those things. It's like we are really in a relationship with everything. Attitudes, places, things, people, emotions. A lot of times, even in relationships, which is what I was talking about in the workshop, you think you're in a relationship with the person per se. No, you're in a relationship with everything that the person stands for. All the things you complain about that you can't stand about the person, it's everything you're in a relationship with. that person that just happens to be there, as a body to give you something to focus on, but you're really in a relationship with the things that you're always talking about the person. So that again, you go back to the question when you ask, well, about us, and being here, and why, why we keep dealing with this experience and so on and so forth. It's all tied into all of these components, this addiction. There's so much to it. There's just so much, but it boils down to an addiction, and everything becomes static for us. Then everything becomes final. Everything becomes final. The only thing that we don't see, I mean, like in our the programming for human beings, they know that they're born and then they expire. And I use the word expire a lot because I think it's more relevant when we understand more about this cosmic computerized system, that people expire. We got that down pat. Nobody changed that one, boy, because we know, oh yeah, two things. What is it you gotta do? What is it? Pay taxes and die or something?
Die and pay taxes, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So you listen to that program, and there you mention a thought outside of that. Oh my God, no, that's just ridiculous. So you see how we're on this hamster wheel. Just churn it. I even one time I said in a workshop, do we really need to sleep like that? And it was just the weirdest thing to me. Maybe that's why I didn't used to like sleeping, taking a nap as a child. But, it was just the most bizarre thing to me when I thought about it, how we go to bed. Here we go. Everybody goes to bed. We pull our covers over, and then we, sort of plug up. And there we are. We do the sleeping thing, and then we get up, and then we're back in the game again. And you start thinking about all of these things. It really does kind of take something off in terms of you start seeing more about all of this, and you're like, wait a second. You're scratching your head. You're like, wait a second. It's like everybody, all lights out. Everybody in most places, it's nighttime. Everybody goes to sleep, and we're all like we're dead. And then, then here comes morning. Of course, the sun comes up and the light comes in, and of course, that's the chemicals again. Serotonin and melatonin. Serotonin kicks in because of the light, and that triggers daytime activity, and melatonin, of course, triggers nighttime activity. So we've got this chemical factory in this body, which we've come to identify with. We've come to think that the body is ultimately us, and we keep forgetting that there's something else that's in these bodies that's running these vehicles, and that's where the confusion comes in, because we've become these roles that this automated system we call a body, operates by. So it's just like this whole thing. It's a lot.
Yeah, definitely. So what we need to do is be able to figure out how to push the right buttons and throw the right levers and turn the right knobs and everything inside this body machine computer program that we're operating to be able to take it to the direction that we want to go.
Well, the first thing is a person has to really ask questions, and there has to be this thing that turns on in you that has that aha moment, like, wait a second, kind of like, what I used to always say, my question was, how do I know that I like, a particular color just because I like it? Just simple questions like that. It's like, how do I know that? How do I know I want to do this because I just want to do it? And you'll trace that back to some other thing that's, it's just somebody said something to you as a child or whatever, and this sounded like a good idea, and then you got this program going, and now you want to be a doctor, or now you want to be whatever the case may be. So first you have to even be able to ask the questions, and not just ask the questions, but then you have to be open. You have to remove your boundaries. You have to stop trying to put creation in a box that you're comfortable with. That's what people do. We want reality, we want creation to be something that's comfortable for us. But I'm saying, since you mentioned that, if you're going to ask these really profound questions, if you're really thinking, boy, maybe I would love to experience that to begin to be so much more. Well, that so much more ain't going to happen if you already have predetermined that creation can only be these things right here, but it can't be anything else outside of that. Well, then you're right back where you started from.
Yeah.
You have to recognize, realize that creation is any and everything, good, bad, and indifferent. And with that said, you start to allow it to show itself to you. It's only going to show you as much as you can accept as a possibility.
So is there any way we can fire the programmer and just rewrite it to our own comfort? There goes that box.
That'd be you. Oh, he wants the easy pill. He wants to take 2 pills and when you get up in the morning you'll be free. But I think again you're firing the programmer by coming into that kind of awareness. And again, I've done even a more recent workshop where it's called reading the data stream. It's learning how to read the data in everything, because that's the other level of this being free, is to recognize that everything is made up of information. And as I said earlier, everything that you're interacting with, everybody, every situation, everything is nothing but information that's there for you, but we don't know how to read it, so we interpret it as, God, that person gets on my nerves, or whatever the case may be. But that person is showing up with some data, with some information. Now, is that person, the information that person represents, or that data that person represents, is that data there because of something in you that, is it reflecting the information in you so that you can see that you have this data in you, this information in you, and then maybe you can delete it. I mean, so I did this whole workshop on all of that to show how we read everything and how we can start to delete a lot of this kind of, a lot of the things that are in us that are actually holding us hostage, and how the body just runs on auto. And there's something else I was going to tell you. And then the other part of that was listening to yourself when you talk, and you start to realize, you start asking, well, who exactly is it? When you say, I don't feel good, or, I don't like this. We started to, in the workshop, ask, well, who is it that doesn't feel good, or who is it that doesn't like this person? A lot of it is just automated stuff running. And the reason why I started to do that was because it was to get people to start recognizing that part of them that is so profound, that actually is the navigator for this vehicle. When we wake up to the realization of it, that part does not feel sick. That part does not dislike anybody. That part is completely objective. So who is it that's doing all the stuff that's going on? And that was very major for a lot of people. I mean, it just put everybody into this whole different space of realizing, when stuff comes out their mouth, who the hell's talking?
Defining the ego.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, it's crazy and fun at the same time, because everybody started to have fun with it in their lives, and it just allowed you to just be more expansive and catch yourself. It's like, well, who, because we identify with everything. I'm hurting, or I'm this and I'm that, and it suddenly starts to allow you to heal situations and just repair certain things, because you're not identifying who you are with that statement that you made, you realize it's your body, it's my vehicle that is experiencing this particular situation. So anyway, that's just a little bit of what we've been doing.
There was one thing that I've been trying, and I heard somebody else say it a couple years ago, where when they make a snap judgment about somebody, like for example, we were talking earlier, like, "Oh, what are you wearing?" You right away in your mind say to yourself, like, "Who said that?" And for some reason, no one answers that questions. Nobody ever wants to admit that they.
You're talking, it's nobody outside wants to admit. You're talking when you verbalize.
No, I'm saying
internal.
Internal, no.
Oh, okay.
The ego doesn't want to admit that,
Oh, yeah.
If you ask yourself, like.
Yeah, I gotcha. You're right. It's true. That's exactly what happens. Because a lot of times you think that you're either better than or above certain things, and then you realize that you have your own hang-ups and there's prejudice with certain things, and now you're faced with it. And it's like really kind of like scary, because you're like, oh. You're like,
yeah, it can definitely be an unpleasant process going through the awakening, where you actually do your own self-examination. That proverbial look in the mirror and truly seeing who's looking back at you. It can be an uncomfortable experience.
Which is why a lot of people don't do it, because it's like you have to be ready to just own your stuff. And I think more than anything else, we have to realize this is not about blame or getting mad at yourself. It's just that's what we were when we were that, because that's what we needed to be in those moments. But there's no good thing or bad thing. That's just who you were at in those moments. And now you've awakened to, you've moved into another level of awareness. Like, oh, okay. But people tend to want to, God, I can't believe I was like that. I can't. Okay, get over it. Okay, that's how you were, because that's how you needed to be at that moment. That's it.
It's surprising how many people actually don't like the person they see in the mirror.
Yeah.
It's quite amazing.
Yeah, that's a lot of people, and it's all based on these programs, though, because there's a lot of times that's the only reason why, if people that really just don't like themselves, you're measuring yourself against something. What are you measuring yourself against? It's just some sort of measuring device there, some sort of barometer that you're using to determine what you think of yourself. And I think in that sense, where people just don't like themselves, that's a lot of what's going on. But then when you look in the mirror, like we were talking about, and you see certain things in you, oh my gosh, that you have to laugh.
Mm-hmm.
You do. I mean, that's part of the changing it, is the humor of it, and realizing that you were just playing a character. You're just playing a role, and then there's nothing heavy to it. You get it, and you move forward. So
when that realization comes along, wow, what a freeing.
Oh, yes.
I mean, it's like everything comes off. It's like, whoa, you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me.
I know.
Oh, my God, what a sucker I was.
It's funny. It's so damn funny. Yeah. Now, we have to look at, okay, so should you wear white after Labor Day? I love that. That is so funny. It's like you see it. I saw it on Yahoo. Should you wear white after Labor Day? And I always used to wonder why. What happens after Labor Day if you put on white? I don't understand. What does somebody know what happens? Does the brain short circuit? I'm not real clear on what happens if you put on white after Labor Day. I'm still trying to understand it. This stuff like that is like, who's coming up with this stuff?
That kind of reminds me of Crystal. I was talking to a friend of ours, Crystal Clark, and she was talking about how you have the pork loin, and the grandmother used to always cut all four corners, and
Mhm.
then the mother used to cut all four corners, and then the daughter would cut all four corners.
Mhm.
And then the husband asked one day, "Why do you cut all four corners?" Oh, because that's the way my grandmother did it. My mom did it, so I do it that way. And then when she called the grandmother and asked her why she did it that way, and she said, "Oh, because that's the only way it would fit in the pot." So I'm
That's
wondering.
so funny because
Mm.
that's how everything else is.
So I'm wondering if the not wearing white or here in Japan is you can't wear certain clothing the same way you can't wear certain types of kimonos into certain dates.
Yeah, yeah. It was all rituals too. I mean, and we forget the meaning behind a lot of this stuff too. So that's what makes it so funny because it could be something as simple as like what she just said. Oh, just because it wouldn't fit in the pan. Um, but then it becomes this ritual. Nobody knows why, but that's just the way it's done.
Don't question it.
Yeah, don't question it. Don't question it. And that's what we get. Just don't question it. That's just the way you do it. You know, or it's just have people have a fit. It's like, "Oh my God, you did it that way?" And it's like, "Well, yeah, well, what's going to happen?" I don't know, but that's not the way you should do it.
Mm.
So it's all just funny. Oh my Lord, it's all just
Mm.
funny. It's like when you
Uh,
die, you're going to go to heaven and or or just accept Jesus Christ as your personal savior. Um, but there is a limitation there in terms of what anybody can tell you about it, other than it's in the Bible.
don't
That
That's
question.
all.
that
Don't
whole
question it.
that whole salvation point mentality, it just blows me away. Everybody's waiting, okay. I mean, and then now everybody's they're getting this 2012 fever also.
That's funny.
And it's like, okay, well, I don't have to do anything. I've gone to church and I've been saved and baptized
Oh yeah.
and whatever. I don't have to do anything internally with myself
Oh
because
no.
because
Yeah.
I go to church every Sunday and I go to my Wednesday night whatever,
Prayer
and
meeting.
yeah.
Prayer
So
meeting.
so 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 I'm all
And you
golden.
tithe.
And I
Yes.
read the Bible before I go to sleep, and I
Right.
Yeah.
pray.
And then
And
I cuss at everybody down the road as I'm going there because the traffic sucked. Get out of my way.
that's right.
You idiot. Who taught you how to
Trying
drive?
you're trying to get to pray to your Lord, so
Mm.
that's okay if you cuss out everybody.
Right.
That's it's different.
Well, they're heathens anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, so it
That's
doesn't
right.
really matter.
They don't. They're not people.
They don't count. They're not going to heaven.
That's
They're
right.
not going to heaven. But yeah, that's one of the funniest ones. So nobody questions it. Nobody really asks. I mean, well, most people. There's people that I know that have stepped away, but it's like, well, how do you? Well, it's in the Bible. Read your Bible. It's in the Bible. That's it. That's all. That's it. That's all I need to know. It's in the Bible.
Yeah.
You don't have to do anything extra, like you said. You don't
Don't do
have
any
to.
research. No,
Nope.
no.
Nope. Just
wasting
go
your
to
time.
church.
Yep.
Just go to church.
Humanity hasn't grown at all in the last 2,000 years. Whereas our
That is
consciousness is the same as it was then.
that is so darn ridiculous. Especially when you hear of people who've like gotten into fights, people have killed each other over the darn Bible or religious beliefs. It's still going on. We've had wars based on a lot of this stuff that people don't even know that some of these wars are just religious wars. They're based on a lot of nonsense about territory, based on their religious beliefs.
Mhm.
It's the beat goes on.
Yep.
It just
Yep.
it just goes on. So if I was supposed to wait for all those people to suddenly, I mean, I'm thinking.
Sorry, guys. It would be really nice if you guys decided to come along, but hey, if you're liking it where you're at,
And they are.
yeah, more power to you.
It's
It's your path. You got to walk it.
Mm-hmm. They're enjoying where they are right now, and that's kind of basically the bottom line of it.
Yeah, but
Leave them.
Yeah. To switch gears a little bit, the last time we had you on, you were telling us about a few of your quote unquote weird experiences. Anything's happened since April?
Oh my gosh. I don't even know. I probably have had. I don't know. I probably have had experiences, but sometimes I don't even remember now. They're just so weird. I don't. I don't even. I remember. I used to have what we would call more weird experiences. I would say in the very beginning. Now I don't know if it's because in the very beginning I was so new to all of this, so it was also fascinating. Maybe that's what it was. And then now, nothing is really weird per se anymore. Maybe that's what it is. But I haven't had anything where I could um, say that it was memorable that's happened to me lately. Now you're making me really think.
So
Um,
no elves to come and visit you.
no. Other than was it
That one time.
last year? Well, last time I was on, did I tell you about that time where I had this. I don't even know if I can call it a dream, but for lack of a better word or so, a dream where I saw myself sitting on this bed, and I was in this city, this place where people were walking around, and it just everything was a little misty. It's like their sun. It was just very misty, not even misty, hazy looking. And I was sitting on this woman's bed, and she told me that I had died, and I was just in shock. And then you know how dreams switch. The dream switched from that to where I was walking around, and I realized that everybody there, it kind of looked like our world, but everybody there had died, but they were functioning, they were living, doing stuff anyway. It's just that the environment, it just looked a little different. It just looked hazy. And a couple people, one guy had just died, but he was walking with a cane, and that before, and then he got rid of the cane because he didn't need the cane there anymore, because there he was fine. And somebody said, "Oh, you should see the sunsets here." I always remember that.
hmm.
And what became even more interesting, because I'm exploring this, and this is the world of the dead, and at least in that reality. And so I'm back again. I'm sitting the woman's bed, and she's telling me, I'm asking her how I died. Now I don't remember what she said, but I then said to her, I remember I then said, I said, I can't be dead. And I said, you know what? I want a body back now. And I caught myself, and I said, no, I want my body back now. And I jumped up I woke up. I jumped up immediately.
Hmm.
Wow.
So it took me a couple of weeks. I didn't talk about it with anybody because it was so kind of jolting, because it was the realization that, well, perhaps you were gone in your sleep. And because of what I know, what I understand, I made that distinction that I didn't want a body back, which could mean anybody at any given time. I don't know, 1,000 years from now. But at that moment, I said, no, I want my body back. I remember changing my mind, being clear about that, and then that's when I jumped up.
Hmm.
And what was funny is I had Dr. Oh God, what's his name? Can't believe I forgot his name on my show, and we were talking about a few things, and he was describing the scenery is one of the sceneries for the world of the dead. And then that's when I told him my story, and he says, and I said, yeah, that's exactly how it looked. And he's like, yeah, that's some of it. That's one of the worlds, how it looks where people live. People are when they die. That's an experience. That's their reality. So that was it.
So what do you think about the Oversoul idea?
What do you think about the Oversoul idea?
Have you read the any of the who was it? Jane Redfield? No. Can't remember the guy's name. did a series of book called The Education of Oversoul 7. I just absolutely had a huge impact on me anyways.
I've never heard of it. I've never heard of the book.
Oh, it was the same one who wrote it was Jane Roberts.
Okay.
Jane Roberts. Yeah, the Seth girl. Education of Oversoul 7. Excellent book. It's fiction. I call it faction. You know, I find so much truth in some of the fiction that you read.
Well,
you read out there. But the idea of the Oversoul, where all the different lifetimes are compiled into one consciousness.
Right.
I just found that very.
Oh, you're saying the different lifetimes are combined into one consciousness?
Right.
Yeah.
We get all our memory back, type thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You're talking after someone has passed away, or?
Right, being absorbed back into an oversoul, which this goes way outside the box. I'm living 500 different lives right now at this very instant type idea.
But that's happening anyway right now.
Right.
I mean, that's what I say. It's that we're living, because it's just a consciousness that's, doing all the traveling around, and it's just where we happen to appear to be focused on right now. That seems like the only reality. But I mean, it's it's why past, present, and future exist all at the same time, because we are having. We are all over the place, and I think when we catch ourselves at various moments, I think we will recognize that we are not always here at what we define as here. We're not always in this particular experience, and and we get flashes of being someplace else. So so bringing everything into one from that perspective of what appears to be a death, and then what we call the soul. What I recognize as the soul is like it's like I call it a holographic record keeper. Everything is stored there from all the various experiences, and then that's what determines what will be mapped out for a particular journey, as we talked about in the first hour, or the journey of the individual based on what has been compiled, the experiences associated with, say, your prior experience in terms of your consciousness on planet Earth, as we know planet Earth to be. That information, that data in association with that, would then be used to determine the journey of your consciousness focused on that particular experience or particular ride back into that level of reality. I hope that makes sense as well.
Well, it does to me. I've been reading Tom Campbell, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, the whole idea of being absorbed back into a this is the programming speaking now. Losing my individuality and becoming one with all these other guys that I don't know.
Okay. So, okay. I see what you're saying. You're talking about being absorbed back into the totality of everything.
Right. Of that, at least on one level, into that oversoul, which is managing this sub program of program. Right.
Yeah, that's another. Oh, yeah. Okay, on that level, yeah. No, I've talked about that. As a matter of fact, the next book kind of goes into that, because, what I've seen is like consciousness as we define it is not exactly as we think it is. And yes, it is a lot of programs going on, and there are other beings, obviously, from which this reality as we know it, or the planets, have been designed. So there's a whole construct or programming construct that is going on that would cause a certain level of absorption. But at the same time, I still say that there is a level of individuality. And I've had that experience where you feel integrated, you feel part of everything. You don't feel separate from, but still there's an aspect of you that has a an individualized sense, that is still always there. That's been my experience. This all encompassing part of everything, not separated from, but then there is that sense. So I see some of that a little differently. And it depends on what level we're talking about. If we're talking about death, that is like just another level, kind of like being here. This thing is so multifaceted that what you are when you call yourself dying doesn't even scratch the surface in what you really are beyond all of that. That is just one facet of your consciousness experiencing that uniqueness of what we define as death. That's just one aspect of consciousness that is not experiencing the reality that it supposedly came from, or the reality that it associated itself with, which would have been Earth, as we, as it would have known Earth to be. So it's still existing on all these other levels, and yet you are still, or that entity is still exists on these much more expansive levels, because there's another expansiveness where we exist, that we have allowed ourselves to descend down all these various levels. So we exist as the very keepers at the same time, of ourselves. So it's a gigantic, it's just a gigantic, I don't know even know what to call it.
It is big, isn't it?
It's big. It's just big. It's just.
It is big.
And then there's a part where there's no words. There's like no words to describe it, but you know it and you feel it and you see it. And my memory, there's a lot of vividness with my memory, and being able to feel and to see. A lot of that, a lot of what I am. I'm talking to you right now, but I can still feel myself as this other expansive, vast being beyond, time and space, and a lot of times that for us can make it challenging, because it's like being poor, but there is something in you that feels so very rich, like you're wealthy. On some profound level, there's this feeling, but on this level, you're having this particular experience, and then it can become very challenging, because you're feeling what you truly are beyond that particular experience.
Right. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Did you get all that, Ramon?
Yeah, I'm still processing it.
Oh boy.
Oh my gosh. It's the meaning of life in 2 words or less.
It said something. I gotta say that here in the last 20 years, our language has really came through some barriers in being able to describe these concepts. The descriptions that you see from the past, and I mean, you go back to the Blavatsky stuff, the stuff around the turn of the century. These concepts were all there in certain language, but the language now, people are starting to put it together in so many different ways that is, especially since the internet is just been an absolute boon for consciousness. Since all this is, the internet's come out and there's so many different people describing it in so many different ways, you're going to find your flavor.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Flavor that explains it to you in a form that gives you
that you can digest.
Understanding and you're able to paint that picture in your mind to where you can comprehend it.
Right. That's the beauty about having the variety, because there's something for everyone. You're going to connect with that right set of words that just does it for you, where my words might not necessarily do it for you. It just, or your words or whatever the case may be. And that's the beauty. It's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
And then you just keep, you keep moving, you keep expanding, you keep growing, if that's what you choose to do. Because some people really kind of settle in on, like, on understanding. It's like people who say they're psychic, and then they'll just hang out there the whole lifetime. That's all they're going to do is just be psychic. Yet everybody has that in them. That's just part of. It's just part of our ability. For some, it's more sharpened. It's way more sharpened, and especially because they've focused on it, they've worked at it. But that's all they want to do. They just want to do psychic readings. They don't want to go into anything else. They just want to do psychic readings, and it's okay.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's what they need this time.
Exactly. That's basically what they need this time.
Yeah.
So I did psychic readings. Oh gosh, in the very beginning, it was a real blessing for me in terms of growing, because it allowed me to trust myself. I didn't know that I could do this. I'm like, whoa.
You were that Sonia on that 1-900 line, weren't you?
Yeah, I was on Psychic Readers Network.
Were you really?
PRN.
All right.
But they used to test the psychics then. That was the one thing. They tested them. Like you could only do past and present. You couldn't do future. You couldn't tell them anything about the future. It had to be in the past or the present, something that they could verify to qualify you. That was the good thing back then, because it was all kind of new. And so I don't know how it is now, but I know the psychics were all tested. They were like really good psychics. And then they had psychic friends at the time, and those two were competitors. But I could only do it for a short time. It was just too much. People, I didn't want people talking to me about love and money and just stuff that I don't really want to talk about. One guy, was going to kill himself. I remember that one night, and I was on the phone talking to him, out of killing himself. I'm like, okay. That was, yeah. It's a whole bunch of different energies.
Yeah, that's not psychic right there.
Yeah, that's, yeah. That's therapy right there.
Yeah.
Well, that's a suicide hotline right there. Yeah, that was a whole different experience. But nonetheless, I guess something that I needed as part of my growth, and I did it for a few months, and I couldn't do it anymore. The calls come in, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. So, that was that.
Oh, boy. So where do we go next? So, here's a question for you. Have you ever done any of the shamanic entheogen type trips, the psychedelic?
You're talking like
ayahuascas or the mushroom thing or any of that stuff?
Yeah, you would ask me that. No, actually, it's kind of interesting. I did have an experience. I still couldn't tell you exactly what it was, because the person that did this, we trusted him very much so, and it was about 4 of us. And I think I'm not sure if it was mushroom or ayahuasca, but I tell you what, because I've never done any drugs, or I've not even smoked weed. So he didn't tell us when he gave it to us. He gave it to us in a drink.
Oh, no.
And we were sitting there. I mean, it was not alcohol, obviously, but it was like you're drinking tea, but it was like a cold drink. And he told us we were going to do it, but he didn't say, okay, here it is, guys. So I started drinking it, and next thing I'm seeing plant leaves on the wall. And so it was definitely an interesting experience.
So was this in a recreational setting?
It wasn't supposed to be that. No, it was supposed to be a spiritual process. And so that was when I had that experience of really feeling one with everything and nothing. It's like everything that you thought you knew at the time, because it was a while ago, a long time ago, just kind of went out the door. It was like, it was just total blending. Everybody's experience was different. I think the experience was based on according to where everybody was,
Right.
to begin with, and so there was like a profound love. There was lots of things that I did see. However, what I must say is, when it was all over, um, because I didn't know what to expect, and I was just like, oh my God. And we got ready to finally leave. When I walked out that door, everything was so bizarre to me. It was like I was walking into some other reality. It all just, you saw everything like it was just a big movie set,
Right.
and getting, driving on the freeway, and we're both just looking at each other like, oh my God. Now, I don't know if it's because I've never done anything before, but man, it lasted. I'm telling you, that feeling, it lasted probably, I would say, well into months. I don't think I was ever the same.
Right.
And so it just sort of integrated with my already expanding experience at the time. And yes, that was something else. Nothing was ever the same. I saw things completely different. Everything was just like, oh, none of this is real,
Hmm.
which I already had sensed that, but now you're looking at it and you're like, God, none of this, anything anybody said to you was just kind of ridiculous. It's just
Yeah.
so pointless. It was all just so pointless because you realized it wasn't serious, and the other person is talking to you and they're so serious about whatever it is going on in their life, and you just want to laugh because it's all just a big joke. So, so that was an experience. That was my one and only experience then, and I'm grateful for it, even though I didn't know what it was that I didn't know, I had no idea, but I'm very, very grateful that I did have that experience then.
Yeah.
That's actually very common. I hear that one where when people come back from those trips, they feel like nothing is real, or the other one during the trip, everybody has no face to themselves.
Yeah.
Like, they look
Okay.
at the people and they have no faces.
Mm.
Or for me, one was that I was at this park, and it was a man-made park in Manhattan,
Mm-hmm.
and it looked so fake. It looked like something out of Where the Wild Things Are.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, these trees aren't real. They're fake. They're not. They didn't feel natural.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely interesting. Lots of colorful things dancing before you. Lots of, shoot, I
Yeah.
don't know if you had that, but it was just lots of colors and movement, and there's like a whole psychedelic thing going on, during the experience. But I think the afterwards, like you said, was definitely um, interesting.
Yeah.
And then later on, I hear about ayahuasca and stuff like that because I didn't even know about any of that then.
Right.
So,
Well, I will not ever condone or support recreational use of any drugs. It's totally against who and what I am.
Yeah.
Not to say that I didn't do it when I was younger myself,
Mhm.
but
Right.
but it is.
Now that you know, you know.
I know the purpose of these elements on this planet, and they are definitely not to go out and have a party.
Right. Well, this wasn't that. This totally wasn't that at all. This was definitely more like a spiritual
Right.
awakening, opening. But that's how it was explained
Yeah.
to me, and the person facilitated it didn't just sat and watch, and everybody's response was a little bit different. So he was there to make sure that everybody journeyed and was okay. So.
Yeah. Well, this stuff's been used on this planet for as long as mankind's been around. So.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, with those things, you always need a really good guide.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Well, this person was. I mean, he had done it on a number of occasions. He's a shaman, basically, a master of herbs.
Right.
Mm.
Right.
So,
So, okay, well, we are at the top of the second hour already. It went really fast. I think our first interview went really fast with you too. I don't know. It's just
Yeah, I did
some
actually.
energy thing or something. So, so if you want to throw your material out there again and your websites.
okay. Website spiritinform.com, spiritinform.com. My radio website is sovereignmindradio.com. And the documentary website is thebusinessofdisease.com. And all the websites actually, you can connect with all of them from the spiritinform.com website. There's tons of DVDs and CDs and the workshops that are accessible on there. And we just completed, well, we have one more to go, but a 6 months workshop on it was more on the science of money, but it's not the way people think. It was a completely different level of showing the science of time, money, and how we spend our lives. Literally spend it like we spend money, and understanding that whole process. So all of those in all of that is on the website, and the Art of Alchemy was a 12 months course that we did. Also, all of that is there as well. And the conferences, I'm going to be at the Alchemy Conference next week in Los Angeles, in in Long Beach. That's the Alchemy Conference. And then I'll be at Conscious Life Expo in October. That's in LA. And I'll be at the Pythagorean Conference in December in Kentucky. And if I miss anything else,
you'll
see
find it
it
on the website.
On the website.
Yeah.
Yep.
One last thing. When do you air new shows?
Every
Once a week?
Thursday. Yeah, once a week. I put them up on Thursday. It was a lot more work to do it the other way. So it's every Thursday. It's featured on the homepage. You just click play. And there's always a new show every Thursday, and the rest it's all in the archives.
Do you know who's coming up this Thursday?
Who's coming up this Thursday?
That would be September 15th.
That's a good question. I am not sure. I took 2 weeks off. You know why I took 2 weeks off? I had so many shows that were recorded and I needed a break. I took 2 weeks off and I go back to taping shows next week. I mean, I have so many. I have a lot of guests. Let's say. And so I know there's Marie Jones. I don't know when that one will air. And the Brad, he wrote the book Spiritual Genome. I think he's on the 29th. And I don't have my full list in front of me, but I do send out a newsletter once a week. Every Thursday it goes out and it shows everybody that's basically coming up, coming on and previous guests. So I send it out once a week to people who, subscribe, not paid subscription, but just send me their email address. And so they're notified of all the people.
Cool. Yeah. So have you got any parting words for our guests or for our guests? Have you got any parting words for our audience?
Yeah. Just enjoy life, enjoy the experience. There's taking it seriously, and at the same time, the greatest medicine is really the laughter and recognizing that you're just playing a character or playing a role. I think laughter is truly, honestly, the best science with a lot of this. So yeah, laughter makes things change, and it's not so static. So that's why I say laughter. It's not all final and stuck and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us, Sonia. This has been very enjoyable.
Thank you so much for having me on. Thank you. You guys do such a really great job, and it's good to be on your show because you're so open and you're bringing this information to people, and I love it. I love it. It's outside the box. It's great.
We pay her to say that.
Yes. Yeah. You'll get the check next Tuesday. Yeah.
Cash only, cash only.
Okay, guys. I want to thank everybody if you're still around. Thank you for listening. This is Tom and Ramon from the Hundredth Monkey.
Thank you. Have a good night.